You walk into the room. No announcement, no encourage, no need to raise your voice. And yet, conversations pause, eyes shift. The temperature changes, not because you said anything, but because your presence did. This is what Machiavelli mastered, not with charm, not with wealth, but with a cold, engineered stillness that forced the room to adjust to him. Most people never learn this. They think power is loud. They speak quickly, laugh too much, over-explain before being asked. In trying to fit in, they reveal what Machiavelli despised: desperation, disguised as friendliness. But the true strategist, he knows a different law. He lets others perform. He lets others talk. He simply exists. Correctly. That's when the gravity shifts. That's when the silence becomes power. Because respect, true respect, isn't taken. It's commanded. Without saying a word. These are the 4 laws of cold presence. A silent guide to making them notice, adjust, and respect you. Before you ever speak. The first law of cold presence: the gaze, not a stare, not a glare. A gaze, refined, controlled, quiet. You don't look around nervously. You don't seek eye contact to be liked. You observe, calmly, slowly, precisely. Machiavelli understood that in any room, the one who watches controls. Because people are not used to being looked at without being invited. When your gaze scans with intent, they feel seeing, but not understood. They feel exposed, but not engaged. And that tension, that's where power begins. Most people use their eyes to connect. You use them to calculate. You measure body language. You study alliances. You locate weaknesses. But you give away nothing in return. No wide eyes, no raised brows, no emotional leakage. Your gaze is a locked door. What's inside remains unseen. And that silence in your eyes becomes a mirror. They look into you, but only see themselves. This is why the gaze is so unsettling. When you speak with your eyes, without blinking too often, without shifting too quickly, it tells the room, I see everything. I need nothing. And that unnerves people. Because most walk into rooms hoping to be seen. You walk in already knowing what you're looking for. This doesn't mean intimidation. It doesn't mean trying to look tough. That's just insecurity in disguise. True presence is still. Still eyes, still face, still body. The man who blinks too much, who scans the room constantly, who smiles without purpose, reveals his hunger. You are not hungry. You are present. You are the one they'll try to read, but fail to understand. That failure, that mystery, that's what creates respect. The most powerful people in history were never the loudest. They were the ones whose silence demanded answers. Whose gaze made others feel uncertain. Whose calm presence interrupted chaos. So next time you enter a room, don't try to be liked. Don't look for connection. Don't rush to react. Pause. Observe. Let your eyes move with gravity. When someone speaks to you, hold their gaze just a second longer than comfort allows. Not to dominate, but to discipline the interaction. And break it slowly. Not because you're intimidated, but because you've already seen enough. Let others fidget. Let them fill the silence. Let them guess what you're thinking. Because power isn't just what you say. It's what you refuse to show. And when you learn to see without revealing, you become untouchable. Because people can't manipulate what they can't read. This is the law of the gazing. You become the mirror. You reflect them, but you remain unseen. And in that mystery, you become respected. Power doesn't rush. It doesn't pace. It doesn't fidget. Power arrives, and then it settles. When you enter a room, you're not just stepping into space. You're stepping into a stage. And the way you carry your body tells everyone one thing. Who owns this territory? Most people shrink when they enter. Their posture folds. Their movements scatter. They adjust themselves to fit in. They try to take up less space, thinking that being polite will win respect. But Machiavelli knew better. He understood that in any room, power belongs to the one who doesn't compete for space. He claims it. Not through noise, not through bravado, through stillness. Stillness is not inaction. Stillness is dominion. It tells the room, I have no need to chase. I already have what you want. Stand upright. Not stiff, but balanced, rooted. Take your seat like you've sat there 1,000 times. Walk slowly, never reactively. Let every movement feel chosen, not impulsive. Because every time you move with purpose, people read it as status. Now watch how the insecure behave. They bounce. They shift weight from one foot to another. They talk with their hands too much. They can't sit still, because they don't feel still inside. But when you remain still, when your posture is unmoved and your frame is relaxed but alert, you dominate the space without lifting a finger. In every ancient court, in every council of kings, stillness was not just a body language trick. It was a signal of internal authority. Stillness is gravity. It pulls attention toward you and makes others uncertain how to engage. Because they don't know whether you're relaxed or dangerous, open or evaluating, passive or prepared to strike. That uncertainty is the source of your control. So when you're standing, anchor yourself. Keep your hands steady. Let your shoulders drop. Let your face remain unreadable. When seated, take your time. Lean back when others lean forward. Hold your frame. Let your presence fill the air. This is not arrogance. It's absence of desperation. And in a world addicted to movement, stillness is rebellion. Own the space by needing nothing from it. Let others orbit you. Because the man who moves the least is often the one everyone else adjusts around. And Machiavelli would say this: let them chatter. Let them shift. Let them try to be noticed. You don't need to prove you belong. You already do. That is how you own space, not by taking it, but by behaving as if it was already yours. And when that message lands, respect follows. Without a word, in a world addicted to motion, stillness becomes a weapon, a signal of control, a statement of internal sovereignty. Most people are always in motion, physically, emotionally, verbally. They react, they adjust, they reach out. But Machiavelli knew, the one who remains still rules, not because he restrains movement, but because his stillness is strategic. This is not laziness, not passivity. This is calculated dominance. Think of the lion. He doesn't chase every sound. He waits. He watches. He lets movement come to him. You must do the same. When you radiate stillness, people begin to interpret it. They project strength onto you. They wonder what you're thinking. They question their own behavior in your silence. And in that pause, you take control. Stillness is not just about the body. It's also emotional. You don't flinch when insulted. You don't chase when ignored. You don't correct when misunderstood. Because power doesn't justify itself. Every reaction gives away a piece of your center. But when you choose not to react, you hold the frame. You define the atmosphere, and others begin to orbit you. This is why rulers throughout history mastered stillness. They moved less. They spoke less. They let others approach. Stillness makes people work harder to earn your attention. It forces them to be intentional. It makes them feel they're in the presence of something rare. Because in stillness, you become the object, not the seeker. That's the psychological shift. The performer needs an audience. The ruler receives one. So when you walk into a room, don't fill it. Let the room fill around you. Stand still. Sit with composure. Speak only when the silence has said enough. And when you do move, make it deliberate. Don't lean in too fast. Don't rush your gestures. Let every movement seem like a decision. The more the world rushes, the more powerful you become by slowing down. Because urgency is the language of desperation. Stillness is the language of power. People may not even understand why they respect you, but they'll feel it. Because stillness creates tension, and tension demands resolution. Let them resolve it by giving you more space, by watching you closer, by speaking to impress you, by adjusting their rhythm to match yours. This is how strategic stillness works. You're not still because you're doing nothing. You're still because you're doing everything internally, while doing nothing externally. You don't move unless there's a reason, and that restraint makes every small movement carry weight. So sit still. Breathe slowly. Let the world move around you, and watch how the room begins to orbit your gravity. This is the Machiavellian way. This is how respect is commanded. Without a word, through stillness that radiates control. Silence is feared by the weak, but mastered by the powerful. Because silence isn't absence, it's a presence. So complete, so deliberate, that it no longer needs to speak. Machiavelli understood what most never dog. The loudest voice is often the least secure, the strongest presence. It says nothing, yet controls everything. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to fill awkward gaps. You don't need to chase understanding. Because silence does the work for you. It creates tension. It creates mystery. It forces others to react, to wonder, to adjust. When you go silent in a negotiation, they speak to fill the void. When you stay silent in a disagreement, they explain harder, defending positions you never attacked. When you remain calm while others panic, your authority becomes undeniable. This is not passivity. This is precision. Words can be traced, quoted, misinterpreted. But silence cannot be used against you. It has no edges, no weight to throw. And yet it lands heavier than any speech. In silence, your opponent reveals more than you ever could. They expose insecurities. They overplay their hand. They tell you who they really are, and all you did was hold the pause. This is how silence becomes strategy. In a world that rewards noise, silence makes you stand out. You walk into a meeting. You speak only when needed. No small talk. No filler. No nervous laughter. People lean in when you begin, because your silence built the expectation. And when you speak, every word cuts through the room. This is how Machiavellian power operates. It isn't about talking over people. It's about speaking so little that when you do, everyone listens. And sometimes you don't speak at all, because your actions already spoke. Your posture already declared it. Your gaze already framed the room. You are not avoiding words. You are controlling their value. Like a currency. The more you spend, the less each one is worth. But when your words are rare, they become expensive. They become respected. So when others rush to prove themselves, to clarify, to justify, you remain composed. And the silence will speak for you. Louder than their noise. This is not arrogance. This is discipline. It tells the world, I know who I am. I don't need to explain it. And in that certainty, they find themselves uncertain. They question. They hesitate. They respect. Because silence isn't the absence of speech. It's the presence of mastery. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must learn to appear virtuous, without needing to convince, to be feared without being cruel, to rule without shouting. And silence is how you do that. So choose your moments. Speak with purpose. And let your stillness speak louder than their words. Because in silence, you become the echo that lingers long after the noise is gone. Now you understand. Respect doesn't come from volume. It doesn't come from titles. And it never comes from needing to be noticed. Respect, real respect, is earned in silence, maintained through stillness, and held by those who don't chase it. Most people will keep trying to be loud, to be liked, to be seen. Let them. You're playing a different game, one that Machiavelli designed not for the many, but for the few. Those who understand that presence is built, not performed. That the loudest man in the room is rarely the strongest. And that true dominance doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't beg for approval. It simply is. So when you walk into the next room, don't announce yourself. Don't explain. Don't adjust. Hold your posture. Master your gaze. Say less. Move less. And watch how everything begins to shift in your direction. Because when you carry cold presence, you no longer need to demand respect. It comes to you. Quietly. Naturally. Inevitably. Until then, stay sharp. Stay still. And let them talk while you lead. I thank you for watching. If you found power in silence, if these laws moved you, like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. This is not just another video. This is the beginning of a different presence. One they'll never forget. Even when you say nothing at all.